So an extraordinary game in St. Tina's Park in Clonard where Monaghan has survived and will retain their Division 1 status for an 8th consecutive year after their 121 to 217 victory against Galway after extra time. Delighted to be joined by former Monaghan player Tommy Freeman, who was at the game doing co-commentary duty for Northern Sound. Of course, we're going live here as well on all the socials, so if you're tuning in, don't be afraid to get your comments in, and we'll try and get them through them if we can over the next kind of couple of minutes. Tommy, it's a good hour now since the game has finished in St. Tina's Park, so it gives us a good chance to draw a breath since Jack McCarron has the toast of Monaghan this evening.
Yes, Gerard, he certainly has. Jack came off the bench, and I think he finished the game with six points. Absolutely phenomenal score from Jack, and just to pop up with the last one and the last kick of the game, and the pull between the posts was a massive boost and a massive win for Monaghan, and it's great they can keep to the Division 1 status now for next year.
Yeah, it didn't look that awfully healthy as we entered the last dying embers of normal time. I know they had got a couple of black cards in that second half through Darren Hughes, and then instantly he came back. Desi Ward got a black card, but he came back, and at that stage, Galway had opened up a 5 point lead. I think it was 2-12 to 1-13 when Shane Walsh kicked a free in the 63rd minute, and it looked like Galway, who always had to keep on at arm's end, had the game won. Then that surge of 1-2, Desi Ward, after coming back on after his back card, kicked 2 points. Then Darren Hughes kicked that goal, and it looked as in the game really kind of would look like definitely was going to head for extra time. Then you had Matthew Tierney's 45, and then Conor McManus sent us extra time.
Yeah, it was just this game had so many twists and turns, Jared, to be quite honest. Like we were doing commentary, and like at one stage we thought like the game had been gone from Monaghan, but we never once questioned their belief and their dedication towards the game. They never give in, and I suppose when Monaghan needed that goal from Darren Hughes, Niall Cairns kicked the ball across the square, and Darren Hughes in the box, and a lovely pick-up, and just turn on the sixpence and buried it, into the back of the net. And so then there was a draw game, and so then Matthew Tierney came, and he came up and he kicked an outrageous 45 over the bar to put goal ahead again. And so then Monaghan had so many phases of the ball in possession, over and back, and trying to break through. And but finally got to Conor McManus, and he kicked an outrageous point to bring us into extra time. So it was a very dramatic finish.
Yeah, I done a piece with Ronan Clark during the week, and he was saying that like they are in transition, man, and they have nice forwards coming through, and they aren't over reliant on Conor McManus. And you mentioned the performance of Jack McCarron. Say, okay, he's not really a new kid on the block. I remember him doing it in the league against Dublin, I think back in 2017. And again today, like you say, he came on, but he nearly kind of played the whole match because he came on the 11th minute for Andrew Woods. 7 points, say 5 from frees, and showed that great kind of nerve in extra time. We've seen him produce really good league performance of Monaghan and then maybe not carry that into championship. Do you think this now could be, with the quick turnaround into championship, he could really start carrying this momentum and be a focal point for Monaghan if they are to get their hands back on an Ulster title?
Yeah, without a doubt, Jared. Yeah, he definitely does. Like we all know here in Monaghan that Jack McCarron has what it takes, and he proved it today. And as you said, hopefully he can just take it in the championship. Yeah, it is a quick turnaround. Hopefully that will stand him. But definitely tonight, as you said, he definitely has the toast of Monaghan. Some of the scores he kicked, Jared, you've just been unbelievable. Just fantastic. And but a few spectators that was lucky enough to be in Clonard today to witness the score taken. From be honest, from both teams was just unbelievable. I suppose yeah, I know Jack's going to get all applauded, and rightly so, but it was so many good individual performances. I thought Desi Ward was outstanding. He done an outstanding marking job on Shane Walsh, and Shane Walsh is no easy man to do a man marking on. I thought Ryan McInnesby was fantastic from wing back, constantly taking the game to Galway when Monaghan was in trouble. So I think them boys can be very proud of the performance, but definitely Monaghan just never give in at all. I'm sure tonight Galway will be very, very disappointed. I think I recorded on my stats, did 11 wides, they had 4 or 5 balls dropped short in his goalie's hand, just at very important stages of the game. But what I was surprised with now, and I don't like pointing the finger, and I'm not pointing the finger, but the Galway management happened to take off Robbie Finnerty and Shane Walsh, and I
Yeah.
still think there was 2 minutes of normal time left, and then there was 5 minutes of extra time went up on the board, and I'm sure Porrick Joyce didn't want to see them 5 minutes going up. But to me, it was an awful gamble to take. But he obviously thought the position then there were 4 or 5 points up at that stage, and he thought they were as good as home and hose, but it just didn't turn out that way. And as we say, the game can turn so quickly, and so it did for Monaghan's point of view.
Yeah, it was a strange because you look back, Walsh I know was mainly frees, but he ends up with 6 points, 5 frees. Finnerty was in their highest score from open play, but 1-2. Like Galway only actually scored 2 points from open play in that second half. I know you might turn around and say like, well, Matthew Tierney still had the nerve to stop that 45 in the end, where Shane Walsh would have kind of been on the pitch, but it was a kind of a strange one for me. And then naturally enough, with extra time being a new game, they came back on as well. And I think also a crucial thing as well, it's for me watching on TV, it seemed like a needless amount of time, but Paul Conroy as well, black card in the 71st minute, like when Galway were 4 points up, you think just see how extra time he was having a fantastic game and experience there. Just as you said, silly little things. I think when Galway look back in the game tonight, that like has cost them their Division 1 status.
Yeah, definitely. And coming from a Monaghan man, I'm a happy man. It's Monaghan that's staying in Division 1, but you have to look back. Galway will be kicking themselves as there's 10 or 11 wides. Paul Conroy, who's had a super game today. Now he really was everywhere, and I was just right underneath us in the commentary box. He kind of just pulled Darren Hughes back with the leg, and I thought David Goff was going to let go, but I think the linesman intervened and told him, and he got a black card, and that was crucial at crucial times. But yeah, listen, Galway, when they do look back and they sit down, and Porrick Joyce, and his management team, they'll be very frustrated and just can't understand how they didn't come out winners in that game today.
You touched on like Galway, I think as you touched on there, I think there was, including extra time, there was 11 wides, including extra time, 10 other missed scoring opportunities. But as well, I think Monaghan's scoring efficiency, I think for both teams were actually scoring rates were under 50% in normal time. I'm not sure what they were in extra time. I think Monaghan they actually kicked 4 wides themselves in extra time. But as you touched on there, like the crowd kind of been there, you're going to expect kind of mistakes kind of happen because there's added kind of pressure on. I genuinely felt watching on TV, there might have only been 100 people in the view, but they were definitely known when Hughes got that goal, McCarron kicked that point, when the nerves racked up. Yeah, you might look back at them stats and say, oh, teams be looking like we've a lot to improve on. It wasn't pretty. There was goal opportunities passed up when they should have been scored. But just in general, I just thought in general, that it finally felt like for the first time in a long time, it felt like watching the game. There was that edge, there was that nerve. It's we've been talking about like players maybe having the freedom. Now with the fact that the crowds are back, it adds that little bit of pressure. I just felt in general that while the quality might not have always been the best time, it's still just meant for enthralling viewing.
It definitely did, Jared. Yeah, and listen, don't get me wrong. Every player goes out to give it their all, and they don't go out to miss these shots. Listen, I've missed many of the shots myself, and I dropped many of the balls short. And I suppose when Jack McCarron was after kicking his three outstanding his three outstanding points, he came along, and instead of taking the mark, he went to take his man on, and he dropped the short. And from that resulting short ball, Galway went straight up the pitch, and that's what got the goal just before the end of, I think it was the end of the half, end of the first half. And as they say, you're better off kicking it a mile wide than dropping it short in the goalie's hand, because straight away that takes the pressure on you from the opposition team. But no, going back to it, listen, both teams, rightly, the first crowd back in, and it wasn't an enthralling match. You swear it was especially the stand. You swear the stand was full of spectators any time, especially when Monaghan got the goal and then McManus got that leveling point to take it to extra time. Jesus, the roof just lifted up the spot of Clonus. But yeah, definitely a good. It's good. There was a bit of an edge to it, as you said. There's a few games on TV. Yes, I know there were semi-finals, but you knew there was no final going to be taking place, and you could really see it in that game. But today, it was just everybody from both teams, Galway and Monaghan, deserve credit to put the bodies on the lines. And at the end of the day, it was a big prize because the winners was as you know, kept the Division 1 stars, but that was a big win for Monaghan. That's actually Monaghan's first win in 7, Gerard, to be quite honest, coming in from last season, because
Since
They
I think
drew.
since the Bet Mayo will be last
Since,
February actually would have been their
yes,
last competitive
exactly.
win. Yeah.
Yeah, since the Bet Mayo. So that was a big win for Monaghan. That was a nice one to get that off the back and going into the championship now. And I think it's Saturday fortnight against Fermanagh. It'll mean a lot.
Yeah, I was just kind of touch on that. Maybe the last thing we might touch on this game before we maybe briefly talk about some of the other football. The scenes at the end, like you could see when the referee blew the final whistle, David got like what it meant to the Monaghan players. And I touched on the start of my introduction, 8 years of Division One football, and you don't realise as well, like for the size of the county, for the population, and everything else like that, it's absolutely massive. And you wonder why, like Monaghan are always. I know maybe they've dipped off a little bit by their own standards in championship the last couple of years, but 3 years ago they were Ireland semi-finals. They've won a couple of Ulster titles, and you wonder why. And it's because of that, because they're regularly getting in games against the top teams. And next year, all going well, fingers crossed, in normal league, they're going to get 7 games against the other best teams in the country.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying. No matter, you're not going to win probably every game in Division One, even though you'd like to. But at the end of the day, every game, as you said there, Jared, you're playing the top teams and you're learning every time. You know what I'm saying? And that's the place you want to be in. And that's what has stood them on. And this is a rate success of year in keeping on Division One status, and it means a lot. We were, as you said, we were in an Ireland semi-final a couple of years ago. We've won a couple of league titles, even though we Division Two. We won a couple of 2 Ulster titles as well, and we've been competing there in Ulster this last 10 or 12 years. But it's great, and especially for the size of the county. But Monaghan has good footballers there, and they have a lovely brand of players now at the minute. Especially in the forward line, as you said, the pressure's just has kind of been taken off Conor McManus, and it's no harm because we all know how good Conor is, and he's a mark man every time he goes out, and that kind of curtails him. So we've seen the likes of Conor McCarthy, and the question was we knew Conor had the potential. League match he done well, and then championship it just mightn't work out for him. But above in Donegal there, in the second league match there, he scored a hat-trick of goals. I was lucky enough to be there commentating on the game too. It's just it's cool and his calmness taking them goals. He really had an outstanding performance, and the likes of Stephen O'Hanlon, Michael Bannigan coming in there. It's just it's good. It's gelling well together. So I'm sure the Banty McEnany now he'll be a very happy man tonight after that win today.
Yeah, I think one thing that stood out for me as well from a post-match interview done after I think the last league game against Monaghan or against Meath last year is that like even just important for sponsorship and kind of getting businesses to buy in behind the county team being in Division One. And again, if that again next year, it's just fantastic. Like when they mightn't have maybe as much resources as the other county in Division One. Just finally before we finish up, Tommy, it was a crazy weekend in football in general. So many standout results and score lines. Obviously, if Kerry putting 6 goals past Tyrone yesterday, how much we can read into that we don't really know. I was also kind of in and out as well watching the Armagh-Roscommon game today, and massive victory there as well for Armagh. You've seen how much went from to win by 9 points, and a county that had a lot of people question where I know they're in Division One, but where they're really going under McGeeney, and even someone like myself, I hold my hand up and question can they see out games after Donegal victory? They answered all that, say they're absolutely emphatic and rightly deserved the Division One status. Big blow for Roscommon, but even looking down Division Two, Kildare beating Meath was probably a bit of a surprise. And Division 3, the 2 provincial winners that everyone would fancy, they're going to go back up. They're now actually in the basement division. Fantastic result for Wicklow against Cavan. And also huge credit as well for Longford beating Tipperary quite comfortably as well today.
Yeah, massive win for Wicklow and Longford. You have to give them credit. And I'm delighted. I'm delighted for Wicklow. I'm delighted for Longford because I remember years ago when I first came on the scene, back in 2000, we were in the likes of Division 3 and Division 4, and you kind of got that feeling, Jared, that there wasn't much really being thought of you. That's all you are good for. That's the standard you're at. But Monaghan has worked extremely hard and to get where they are at the minute, Jared. And as you says, 8 years now in Division 1 for the size of the county is just it's fantastic. But Longford and Wicklow, delighted for them. Cavan, I was actually outside yesterday evening and I just came in and I overheard someone talking in the house here that Cavan had been bet. And I had to say, that had to be wrong. I was, after winning Ulster last year, I'd expected Cavan to go down, or do the Navan, yes, and beat Wicklow, and that's taking nothing away from Wicklow. It's just you thought after coming off an Ulster Championship success, and I know the league just was up and down, but a massive blow for Cavan. I'm sure Mickey Graham and the players today and after that game, as players, when you lose a game like that, you don't have to be told by anybody else to be disappointed enough. But I'm sure I know Mickey, and he's a passionate Cavan man and a big football man too, and I'm sure he's disappointed. But it's like everything else, Gerard. He'll be telling me, they can't lick the wounds for too long, because championship, as you say, is only around the corner, and he'll hopefully get the boys focused on that game now.
Yeah, and a tough one for them against Tyrone. Come up as well, as you mentioned, championship. It might have been a shortened league, but it's been absolutely fantastic over the last kind of couple of weeks. It's a shame we've no real. I think unless there's a final in Division 4, again, these scenarios are so hard to know. It looks like we're going to have no football next weekend or hurling, but it's going to be great having the championship kicking off then in 2 weeks' time. Tommy, thanks very much for your time, and no doubt about it, you will enjoy this Sunday evening after that fantastic victory this evening.
I will, surely. Gerard, thanks, and good talking to you.
No worries, Tommy. All the best.
Bye bye. Bye bye.